It's about 4 minutes for me to adjust the microphone down to my height. You're great to turn out today. There's 11 days left. There's an old saying in basketball, nothing really happens until the last 2 minutes. In politics, nothing really happens in a lot of elections until the last 2 weeks. So Steve and Paula and Bob have got you all hepped up. That's good. I'm here to talk a little bit in the context of a homework assignment. And it's important for us to understand that we really are the most important pieces in a political equation. Yeah, there's ads and there's debates and all that, but when it comes to crunch time, it's up to us. Let me give you some talking points that are important, short-term talking points that are really critical as we do what we have to do in the next 11 days. I often get asked by the press, how can you support Donald Trump? And I tell them it's very easy. How can you not? Right. I tell them it's very easy. Hillary Clinton makes it very easy. Why does Hillary Clinton make it very easy? Because she's Hillary Clinton, first of all. But secondly, see, you guys have all my lines. But here's the kind of talking points I think you can use as we do our job to bring 2 or 3 or 4 of the more reluctant voters to our side of the table. Number 1, look at her most pandering policies. She's going to give away free college education. She's going to make health care for everybody under a single-payer system. She's going to expand everything. She is going to put America on a path to socialism, a slippery slope to socialism, and this country does not want to go there. That's all real. And if you're talking to someone about it, and they say, oh, you're just saying that, remind them of the following. Her 2 favorite surrogates are, number 1, an avowed socialist by the name of Bernie Sanders, and number 2, an unavowed socialist by the name of Elizabeth Warren. They are in it together, and we can't take that. But there's more, and you all know it, but let me reinforce it. The last pile of emails that came out, unbelievable. 2 packages of information in there that we ought to drive home to our reluctant friends. Number 1, who knew that she was corrupt more than anyone else? Her own staff was worried about how corrupt she was. You look at what her staff was saying about her, the concerns they had. How do we clean this up? How do we fix this mess? Oh my God, she's gone too far. Her own staff. But number 2, they finally admitted that it was all about one thing. Bill Clinton, Inc. Unbelievable. This family has spent a lifetime, from the time they started in politics, to accrue personal wealth and personal power. Unbelievable. It is an addiction with them. You see it in what their own staff is saying. Why do they keep doing this, they ask. It is an addiction to corruption, self-aggrandizement, and personal wealth. We've got to remind people that when they were in the White House last time, they were evading, if you will, the legal charges on issues like her crapshoot success of picking 10 consecutive successful trades on the market, in fact, being used as a vehicle to slip a little money into her account. We remind you of Whitewater, where they were accused of doing things. Now we have the evidence on these kinds of things in their own emails, and we've got to remind our friends, our reluctant Republicans, reluctant independents, and Democrats who might want to vote Republican this time, but who haven't crossed over, you cannot put people like this back in the White House, and the proof of the pudding is in their own emails. We need Donald Trump and Mike Pence and a Republican Senate and a Republican Congress to provide change. Okay, let's talk about why we're here. We're here because we know there has to be change. There has to be change. Now let's stand back. What do you do in the last 10, 11 days of an election? You come together with those that should be part of our movement. You bring the reluctant ones in. You join hands even with those that may not have been completely enthusiastic, and you try and make the numbers as large as possible. I suggest to you there are 2 or 3% of Republicans out there and independents who still not have come across because we haven't worked hard to bring them in. Here's what we have to do. We have to make sure Donald Trump and Mike Pence get elected president. Number one. But a president alone cannot deliver change. We've got to understand that. A president alone cannot deliver change. What do we need? We need a Republican Senate. We've got to understand that. Whatever personal antagonism we may have for rhetoric in this campaign, there's no buts about it. We've got to elect Kelly Ayotte to the Senate to give Donald Trump a majority in the Senate so that he can do what we want him to do. Number two, we need a Republican House. Frank Ginta and Jim Lawrence have got to go down there to provide the initiative on legislation, to get it to the Senate, to get it to the President, to give us change. It doesn't happen if we don't make all of that happen. And finally, this one's one of my favorites. We've got to make a change in New Hampshire. We have had 20 years of Democratic governors that have killed the New Hampshire advantage. They have sliced us to death in terms of what made us different. Can you imagine? When I was governor, we were sucking companies in from Massachusetts. It was a big problem for Massachusetts. Now what's happening? We have New Hampshire companies going to Massachusetts. Unbelievable. Our growth is flat. Our young people are leaving. We now have the oldest age population in the country. We've got to do something that keeps our kids here. There's one simple solution. A Republican governor by the name of Chris Sununu. By the way, he comes from good breeding stock. So here's the assignment. Here's the homework. There's about 1,500 of you here, almost 2,000. If every one of you added two more voters to show up and vote for Trump, to vote the Republican ticket, to vote for Chris, and so on, that's 4,000 more votes. That makes a difference. And if you're really good and get 4, you've picked up 8,000 votes as a group. We need it. We're not ahead in New Hampshire yet. We need your help. Be part of the solution. It's unbelievable how effective knocking on doors, making phone calls, and most importantly, depending on where you are in the age group, talking to your kids or talking to your grandmother and grandfather about how important it is for them to cast a vote for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. You've got to be part of the solution. It's nice to express your anger and cheer. It's nice to be upset. It's nice to want change, but it does not happen if you don't invest. Invest a little of your time, a little of your hard work, a little bit of the little embarrassment that sometimes goes when you try and talk to a neighbor that may not agree with you 100%. But we need it. We are not there. We need your help. The tide is moving, but it hasn't completely come across the barrier. So please, when you leave here, think about what you can do in the next 11 days. Identify in your head as you drive home 2, 3, 4, 5, half a dozen targets. I'm going to talk to so-and-so. I'm going to remind them how bad Mrs. Clinton is. I'm going to point out to them that this country needs a change. I'm going to point out to them how Obamacare has screwed them financially. I'm going to point out to them how this country's national security has gone down the drain. I'm going to point out to them how this country needs a leader. I'm going to point out to them that they've got to vote for Pence, Trump, and the Republican ticket. So that's the assignment. You got to go out and talk, 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 talk. It's up to you. It's not up to anybody else. It's up to you. Let's go out and shock the hell out of them. Thank you very, very much.